with it and see if Troop can catch up to it. Russell Martin's thinking the same thing. Look at this. Ball's dead.
Dead ball. The ball actually hit Chu's bat as Martin went to throw it back to the pitcher.
Why is it dead? Why is it dead? That ball's alive.
Dale Scott signaled immediately.
That ball's alive.
It is Sportsfeld Storytime. We're looking back finally, Jake. We're spending some time to talk about the 2015 Blue Jays. But seriously, folks, no, we are talking specifically about the moment in time, the iconic Blue Jays moment of the last 20 years, the bat flip game.
It is the game, isn't it?
It's the game. It's the moment. It's the inning. It is the culmination of what we had talked about for years with Jose Bautista as he grew with the franchise. There was the breakout in the September of the first year, and then the follow-up year, and then the contract year, and constantly having to battle both internally and externally, both non-believing Jays fans who didn't like his attitude for some reason, and fans of other teams who hated that he hit home runs against them, that Jose Bautista was good. He was our hero. He was a guy that is more than a regular season home run hitter on a fourth place team. It was this very idea that, you know, he was the one who was outspoken in 2014 when they didn't make moves at the deadline, and he was the one that had taken on a bit of a clubhouse leadership role. You know, your relationship with that being what it was and where it became and sort of standoffish with the media, but sort of his insistence that he was an elite player and that the team was elite was what you could say fueled their decision to push into 2015 and get them to this moment in the first place.
Yeah, I think I was kind of thinking about this earlier today about, I think you called it a culmination just now. And I think that is absolutely a good word for it. I was kind of thinking, you know, why, not that 2021 wasn't tons of fun, because it was until it wasn't, but like what was different? And I was thinking it was because we were like not fully employed people.
Sure.
But like we were at bars during the week.
You could say it, Jake. We were in our 20s.
Yeah. No. But like I was thinking about, I was like, why wasn't it the same this year? And it's because like, oh, I have a job is the answer.
Yeah.
But like,
I was 35 years old this time around.
Yeah. But like in 2015, it really was like from, I guess, like the trade deadline till the end of the season, it was, you know, we were watching games in public, whether at the games themselves or at a bar with the game on. It was like 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Like it was the buildup. And I think that's what sort of has built this moment up so much, it was the buildup of so many things. It was the buildup of the last 20 years of no playoffs. It was the buildup of this season in particular and the highs and lows and the way the season went. It was a buildup of us personally getting so invested because we were watching games every day with people, which is always a better way to build things up with sports. And then it was also the buildup of the context of the moment in the game itself, which led to, you know, we talked this in the first episode of this Storytime, or maybe it was last week. I don't remember. One of the other episodes of the Storytime. We were comparing it to the Carter home run and how it's sort of taken precedence over it. Well, I don't think it necessarily should, as we talked about. I do understand it because like the emotional release of the moment from the series leading up to it, and then the game itself, and then the 7th inning itself, and then the whole season beforehand, it really was like the largest emotional release in that context possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And a feeling obviously preceded by the belief that the incredible run and all the good that had happened and how exciting the team had become was all going to be pissed away in the most frustrating, like, we don't deserve it this way sort of way. To skip us ahead to the action, of course, Marcus Stroman, 6 innings, 6 hits, a solo home run, and a leadoff double in the first inning that comes around to score 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, getting the team into this famous 7th inning where he would hand the ball to his, I think, still good friend at the time, Aaron Sanchez, to be the guy in the 7th inning. The Jays getting their runs on a Bautista double in the 3rd that scores Revere, and an Encarnacion home run off of Cole Hamels in the 6th that makes it 2-2.
Bomb, by the way.
Absolutely right. So he has just hit this. He has just hit this home run in the bottom of the 6th, and it's Sanchez who comes out, immediately gives up a single to Rougned Odor. Do not forget that name, of course, because it comes up again. Chris Jimenez bunts, if you can believe it, a 1-3 put out, moving Odor over. Another ground ball from Delino to Shields. Jr. puts Odor on 3rd with 2 out, and listen, a play that if we didn't see it happen, it's a rule that we obviously will never have to be told again, ever in your entire life. One that will live on in infamy and immediately becomes a teaching moment for any kid who wants to be a catcher. Russell Martin, who had basically done nothing wrong all year long up to this point. I can talk about it now because I know what happens next. But there was a time where if this has been how this had ended, it would have killed me.
I actually remember, obviously because it's like less chaotic, I actually remember this moment far better than I remember the home run.
Of course, because this moment seemed to take an hour to get resolved.
Yeah. I remember exactly where I was. I watched this game at Tall Boys in Toronto, a great bar. And I remember the play happened. And I remember I leaned back in my chair and I took out Twitter, as we are wont to do. And I remember all I tweeted was "not like this." And then I threw my phone on the table. And we all kind of just sat back in silence. But also, like, the only words being spoken in the bar was people trying to figure out if it was legit. And, like, people were on... It was kind of... In retrospect, it's actually a really cool moment because it worked out. But, like, people were on their phones reading things on Twitter and, like, yelling them out in the bar. And then when it became clear that the rule was actually called correctly, the vibe in the room was just like
sour.
No different. In my mind, I could be totally wrong, but I don't think I am here. It's no different than if Russell Martin throws the ball down and the pitcher hits off the glove and he drops it. Or if he threw it and it hit off the back of his bat, he's got to score.
And here he scores.
That's a run score.
I think that's the right call.
I do too. It's incidental contact. And it's no different than if he threw the ball any other place. He just happened to hit the bat, and Chu did not intentionally interfere. And they are going crazy throwing everything in this place.
Because it robbed us of being mad. Mm-hmm. Like, if it was a bad call and called incorrectly and the game was played or protest, which it was, we could at least be like, well, we got hosed. But once we learned that it was actually the right call, everyone just kind of sat back and was just mad.
And it's so completely crazy that it would be difficult to be like, I can't believe Martin did that, because it's like, it's so absurd and unbelievable that it would happen ever.
You couldn't even be mad at Martin because it was so insane.
Yeah, that it would happen ever is one thing. That it would happen in the 7th inning of a tie game of a deciding game of a series in the playoffs. When again, we watch a lot of baseball every year. We watch, even on down years, we probably watch 100 games and see everything. I have yet to see this since or before. Maybe in a little league game or something like that, but not something you ever expect to see in this spot. The throwback to the mound, of course, hits the bat of Sin-Shu Chu. Odor alertly scampers home. You got to give it to him. I believe Garbage is thrown on the field. I believe Garbage hits a baby, if I remember the story correctly. A baby is hit by a beer from the upper decks.
Yeah.
You know the baby.
The baby wasn't actually hit, but it was far closer than a beer can should get to a baby's head. Let's put it that way.
We got to get the players off the field. They're throwing beer cans, bottles, and everything on the field.
If the batter interferes with the catcher's fielding or throwing by stepping out of the batter's box or making any other movement that hinders the catcher's play At home plate, the batter was ruled out, but that was not the case. He was in the batter's box, as you guys said.
That's clearly a difference. I think it's the right call. And this is just an ugly scene right here from fans who have just made this place a tremendous place for baseball over the years, especially the last 2 months. And right now, embarrassing.
I'll get back to the field real quick. That play, they got the call right.
They did.
I don't see how you reverse it.
So this is one of those moments where I don't really know how to, like the whole moment, I should say, like the non-baseball related moment of like the crowd throwing shit, where like my opinion on all of that and everything that came after it and everything that came during it and everything about it, I think changes a lot.
Right.
It's like, obviously you don't throw shit on the field.
Pretty
like,
clear.
And then it's like, well, I also get the crowd being angry and like this kind of shit happens in sports, but also don't do it. But also then I guess the reaction to it of everyone going as hard as they can the other way is also really silly.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, I'm
but also don't do it.
I'm not afraid to say the truth here, Jake. What we had exposed in these 2 years, I'll count the wild card game the next year, is that among the 49,700 so fans that started to show up for these games, some of them were idiots and assholes. That's just sort of a reality, sort of a reality check. There were some real dumbass idiots that went to these playoff Jays games because it was a absolute fucking zoo. It's almost impossible to remember now. It was foaming at the mouth fever to get into the Rogers Center for these games. It was madness.
It was crazy.
People were insane and they would get wasted drunk because there was nothing else. We hadn't had any Raptors success. We hadn't had any Leafs success. TFC, we had talked about, had scratched the surface, but people were foaming at the mouth for legitimate championship contention somewhere.
And it was so tense in that sense as well. Like I remember the game we went to in this series, in game 2. I remember I was very superstitious in the 2015 season, if you remember.
I do.
And the game was the 14 inning game. I didn't go to the bathroom the entire game because I was like, well, I haven't gone to the bathroom yet. And they've been playing okay. And I remember when, I guess in the 14th, when Texas took the lead, I remember being like, okay, now I actually have to go pee because I haven't peed in like 4.5 hours and I've been drinking. And I remember as I was leaving to go to the bathroom, some asshole in the crowd like screamed at me, calling me a Fairweather fan. Yeah,
part-time supporters.
Well, also saying that I had a personalized jersey, which means I'm a Fairweather fan. It's a Jimmy Key jersey, for the record. My last name is not Key.
Very strange.
But it was that kind of vibe the entire run in the building.
So you know what's crazy to me, Jake, is I remember that being a fairly sizable delay. And I remember the benches clearing later in this game. And I remember being like, boy, that inning took forever, right?
Yep.
The game total takes 3.5 hours. The games now take 4 hours and 20 minutes and nothing happens.
To be fair, though, the inning did take an hour of that.
Absolutely correct.
Which in itself is insane.
It's a movie. The seventh inning is a movie. And the rising action of this movie all centers around Russell Martin, who is the one who makes the errant throw. He is the one who leads off the seventh and reaches on an error, an E6, which you absolutely love to see, as it is complete and utter fucking meltdown mode.
This is the Shields. Broken back for Robert. Andrus could not handle it. Leadoff man on for the Blue Jays in the bottom of the seventh.
That's the speed of Russell Martin. Not a lot of catchers run very well. Forces Andrus to have to hustle. He just misplayed it. He doesn't miss many balls.
Yeah, he just clanked it. He had time. See, to close the glove early, off the heel.
The baseball gods have said we are choosing Russell Martin to be our agent of good. Martin is the one who gets on. He is the one who makes the throw. He is the one who gets the E6 in his favor. The very next play is Kevin Pillar. He grounds out to first. However, Mitch Moreland, terrible throw to second base. That is also not picked up.
And the right-hander Sam Dyson in the Texas pen. On the ground to the right side. Everybody's safe.
Oh my. You got the left-handed first baseman. He's got the easy throw for the force. And Moreland just shanked it.
Once again, tension, late innings. Postseason elimination game, nothing routine.
Well, what happens here, it allows them to bring Goins back out here to bunt.
next time you watch this inning, because I know anyone listening to this will watch this again, just pay attention to the ball that Kevin Pillar swings at that becomes that error. It is so, like, I know that was his thing.
Yeah.
And I know in Game 4 he hit a home run doing the same thing. But it is so far out of the strike zone, it's almost a wild pitch. It's amazing.
Fish have got to swim, my friend. It's just the reality. So now we've got 2 plays that you could say 1.5 of them were Elvis Andrus' fault. The throw wasn't great, and it is an E3 in the ruling. We get to Ryan Goins. I don't know how they got through this Pillar Goins thing alive. I certainly felt at the time that it was going to be a disaster, but it is, believe it or not, E6 once more. It's a fielder's choice to third base.
Great play by Adrian Beltre that just gets absolutely boggled by Elvis Andrus here again.
After back-to-back errors, I'd be surprised if they take a gamble to throw and try to get the lead run.
So Pompey takes his lead off second. Pillar off first. 1-1 to Goins. Bunted. Beltre goes to third. Bases loaded.
Wow. He took great execution. Look at Beltre, the spin, perfect throw, and Andrus just dropped it. He just dropped it.
The field 1-2 ground out. It's Josh Donaldson time. He gets a run in.
Sorry, do you remember on the Revere? Must be on the Revere play. Do you remember Dalton Pompey is pinch running at this point?
Correct.
Dalton Pompey is on third, and Ben Revere's 1-2 ground out. Pompey goes home and slides and takes out the catcher.
Oh, yeah.
Bounce to the right side. Throw comes home. Out at the plate is Pompey.
You know you're not going to double him up. Now, Bannister's going to say he came out of the lane. He's looking for a double play on the slide from Pompey. With all the catcher rules protecting the catcher, you're going to see the play. Jimenez comes up, he's got a force. But I think Pompey's in the right. You got to take him out. He's still on the plate. He's engaged to the plate. You got to take him out. I thought it was a clean play.
He wants the umpire, as Jeff Bannister does, to take a look at this play.
It's a clean slide.
I remember watching that game, and after the whole experience of the top of the 7th, being like, because like if you look at the replay, Jeff Bannister is not incorrect.
Right.
Like he had every right to argue that, and the umps had every right to call that interference and 2 outs. I just remember sitting there being like, man, the building just basically rioted because of a correct call. Mm-hmm. Is it about to happen 2 innings in a row? That's a huge what if that never gets talked about. And like, he wasn't wrong. Ben Revere is super fast, so like that probably gave some credence to be like they wouldn't have got him anyway, which fair enough. But I don't know, man. That was close.
Donaldson gets a run in on a little pop-up ball that allows him to get on base. And that sets the stage for Sam Dyson against the God King himself, Jose Bautista.
Donaldson driving in the tying run on a fielder's choice. After the Rangers took the lead in bizarre fashion in the top half. The 1-1 from Dyson. Bautista with a drive. Deep left field. No doubt about it.
You know, the Raptors winning the championship was obviously a very different bar experience. Mm-hmm. But one that I wouldn't really describe as chaos, the way that game happened. This was, the closest I could think of is being at the Edwin wildcard game.
Sure, that's a good comparison.
But like, this was, as we've talked about, the emotions and the way the last hour had gone, it was being in a bar for the 2010 Olympic game and Crosby scoring, which I also don't really remember.
Yeah.
And just that like complete chaos. It was amazing. It was great.
I was at work screaming my head off. It was a wild time. And you know, a forgotten part of this, Jake, is there's a hot moment here where I believe we were all on the same page that the Jays were about to play the Houston Astros.
Yes, that is correct.
Because this game started 3 hours before Astros Royals, and the Astros get out to an early lead, and they had just the day before they were up 6-2 going through 7 innings, and they gave up 7 runs in the 8th and 9th.
That's right. Colby Rasmus and the Houston Astros, I believe.
That's correct. And Alex Rios and the Kansas City Royals, he hits the go-ahead run in the 5th inning to make it 3-2.
Also a very good what-if.
Craziness. Anyway, you can find out what happens in that Royals series. We do the Jose Bautista home run against the Royals on a previous story time. But that is it for the bat flip. We are going to talk a little bit about Kansas City, but a little bit about 2016 as well next week on Sportsfeld Storytime.